The Detroit Tigers win a playoff game at Comerica Park in the first time in over a decade and take a 2-1 series lead in the ALDS. We'll talk about that and preview Game 4 all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, October 10th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Just place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. We're so back. What an absolute electric factory the city of Detroit really was. I tweeted this out, but like everybody in the city is talking. I live downtown. Everybody in the city is talking about the Detroit Tigers. I walk across the street to go, get breakfast from the market, and I'm picking up, newspapers that about the Tigers, and all the workers there are wearing Tigers gear and talking about it. They are the talk of the town, and they backed it up with a huge win on Wednesday night. That is a 3-0 victory in Game 3 of the ALDS. They now have a 2-1 series lead. The final two games of this series, should you need them both, are a home game and then a Tarek Skubal start. You are in the driver's seat. This was a huge win. And that's not like jumping the gun. That's not me saying the series is over. And AJ Hinch very much has preached one game at a time all season. That's how they got themselves here, right? You got a long road ahead of you. This thing isn't even close to reaching final destination. But home game and Tarek Skubal on the road in the final two games is exactly where this team wanted to be after 3 games. Exactly where they wanted to be. Literally best case, I guess, would be they just sweep them. But if you were to ask most of the coaches and honestly most of the fans, I would venture to guess most people would have said, if we can split in Cleveland and take the first game at home, we're going to be set up really, really nicely. This is very close to best case scenario. They get a win in front of over 44,500 fans in Comerica Park. Bleachers, standing room only, everything filled. It's a playoff record for attendance at Comerica Park. The highest attendance for a playoff game in Comerica Park history. And that's only game 1, baby. They could clinch on Thursday, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. What went right? I think we could talk about some big hits in this game, and we will. We'll talk about some big defensive plays. We'll talk about some other stuff surrounding this impressive victory, but I really do. I'm going to continue pounding this drum, y'all. Like, I really do think that this conversation starts and ends with the bullpen success that this team has seen over the last 2 months. The Tigers in bullpen games, it's funny. The Dodgers were catching heat all over the internet because they're doing something. I don't know about like a pure bullpen game, but they're doing like like not a starting pitcher they intended on going into the season, and then he's going to have a short leash, and they're going to go with a lot of relievers in their upcoming game, and they got a bunch of crap for it on the internet. Like, oh, look, the Dodgers, the big bad Dodgers with all their money are doing, a bullpen game type of thing. It's like the opposite. The Tigers are so on an island with this mindset. I have people all the time that are like, oh, who's going to start the next game for you? It's like, have you not gotten this yet? If it's not Tarek Skubal, there's no starting pitcher, bud. Like that's really what it has come down to over the last 2 months. And AJ Hinch has been an absolute master with managing these bullpen games, and the Tigers' record and the Tigers' success in these bullpen games is just unprecedented. Like it's absolutely phenomenal. Cater Montero starts this game, 1 inning of perfect ball on 6 pitches. And I thought some people were like, oh, like maybe he'll go out there for, the second or maybe even first time through the lineup. No, immediately yanked. Brant Herter comes in, not the cleanest performance we've seen from him, but good enough. 3 1/3, 5 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. The mindset here was get through the entire lineup one time. And then when the lineup turns over and it's still, Quan and they got some lefties up top, then you'll turn the lineup over and get him out again as well. Then we'll go to the back half of the bullpen once the team is in, the 4th or 5th inning, presumably. And that's exactly what happened. Brant Herter is such a phenomenal, success story for this team this year. Can give you multiple innings. If they, if this was June or May, like he would be in line to probably start, like truly start, real start a couple of ball games. And I think the thing that has been so impressive about him is that obviously he's tough against lefties because he has that biting, big, loopy slider that he can throw low and away to them. But he's been phenomenal against righties. Absolutely phenomenal. And that has given him a lot of leash and a lot of leeway and a lot of confidence from this coaching staff throughout this run. And this game was just yet another example of that. Then you get to, I'm highly debating calling these two guys the 2 MVPs of the postseason so far. You get Beau Brieske and Will Vest back to back. Sean Gunther enters the game, gives up a couple of base runners. They go to Beau Brieske. We talked about this on yesterday's show. AJ Hinch had a quote going into the series where he's like, this is paraphrasing, but he essentially said, if stuff gets really thick and really rough out there, right, and they're in a really bad situation, they have Beau Brieske. And I think that that's genuinely how everybody in the clubhouse feels too. This dude is as cool as a cucumber, just cool, calm, and collective, zero nerves, doesn't show emotion after he gets out of it either, just waltzes up there, 2 innings of perfect baseball with 3 strikeouts. He has a 0 ERA in the postseason. He hasn't allowed a hit yet in the postseason. Has pitched in almost every game. Just absolutely phenomenal. Has been a superstar this postseason. And then you have Will Vest. Over an inning of perfect ball. 1 strikeout. That strikeout obviously was to end his outing. Got everybody fired up. Man, his fastball, I know this is a broken record, and I'm just repeating myself for like every single time he enters a ball game. This is the conversation we have, but it's unreal how good his fastball is. It's wild. And he continues this stretch of just being completely unhittable over the last month and a half. Will Vest and Beau Brieske, I'm serious. I think there's a legitimate, not only argument, but potentially even winning argument that those two guys have been the MVPs of the postseason so far. Tarek Skubal, I guess, is obviously an easy candidate for that as well. We'll talk about another guy on the offensive side of the ball who could work his way into that conversation too. And then Tyler Holton, obviously 1 inning of perfect ball to end the ball game. It's a big strikeout to end as well. Shows some emotion on the mound. I think that's really great for a lot of reasons. One, just Tyler Holton's really good, and so throwing him out there in a save situation is awesome. I want everyone to notice no Foley yet again. I really do think AJ is like, we need swings and misses, we need strikeouts, and that's why Vest, Brieske, and Holton have been getting so much more work than Foley. But I think that one of the things that I love about going to Holton specifically there is the fact that his last time out there, he got popped by Cleveland, and him going out there, getting a 1-2-3 inning against the team that, punched him in the mouth is I think such a good confidence booster for him the rest of this series, should they need him again. And then obviously if the Tigers get past the ALDS, then going forward as well. This pitching staff has been the story, and we're going to continue telling that story right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money on sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everyone. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with Prize Picks. There's so many great offers and deals and cool things going on over at Prize Picks all the time. It's the best way to get in on the action in over 30 states, Michigan obviously included. And you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. They also have injury insurance, which is always fun when you set your lineups every day as well. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Locked On MLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Also got to talk to y'all about our friends over at Booking.com, Booking.yeah. If you've been watching the MLB postseason, you know all about Booking.com. You can't go anywhere without hearing them talk about it, and that's for a good reason. They are the reason why all of these great fans are able to travel on the road to see their teams, and you can be that fan as well if the Tigers, well, guaranteed now, are going to play at least one more game on the road this season. Go support them there over at Booking.com. Hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more. You can find the perfect stay even in your baseball rival city like Cleveland. The right stay can make you a fan of any UF city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow, recapping Game 4, the potential clincher of the American League Division Series. So, talking about the pitching and how phenomenal this pitching staff continues to be in the postseason, and how this, pitching chaos. Jake Rogers dropped a pitching chaos line there in the post-game press conference, post-game interview immediately following the win on Wednesday. Cleveland is now Cleveland went 0-8 with runners in scoring position on Wednesday's ball game. That is also back-to-back shutouts. They have only scored 2 total runs since the second inning of Game 1 to present. That's a whole lot of innings and only 2 runs. They have been shut out for 20 consecutive innings in this series now. 20. The pitching has been remarkable, and AJ Hinch has been remarkable. We'll talk about him a little bit later on as well. I thought the defense was great in this ballgame. Matt Vierling with the huge jumping catch gets fired up after to end the 7th inning with Will Vest on the mound. Parker Meadows as well. That play was in the 8th or 9th. He made it look so routine. He was playing in left center field and just jogged over to right center field and didn't even need to dive for the ball, didn't even need to make a crazy play. That's a ball that drops more times than not. Parker Meadows is so valuable to what this team is trying to do, and I cannot say that enough times to all of y'all. Superman, baby. Riley Greene, Spencer Torkelson, after calling both of them out on the show yesterday, both of them get big RBI hits in this ball game. Riley Greene with an RBI single in the first inning to break open the scoring, get a 1-0 lead there in the bottom of the first. And then Torkelson later in the ball game gets a huge RBI double to make it a 3-0 ball game. So I want to give both of them some credit as well. And then one of the unsung heroes of this postseason run for the Detroit Tigers is Jake Rogers. Not only is he calling a great game behind the plate and is a huge reason as to why this pitching staff has been so successful this entire postseason, he has been a machine offensively. And we talked about it yesterday. That extends the lineup so much. It makes this lineup so much more threatening when you have your 8 or 9 hitter doing as well as he is. But he's hitting over 300 and got on base twice yet again in the postseason. He got on base yet again twice yet again in this game. He's hitting over 300 in the postseason. Very amped up. My words are getting twisted there, but he's been phenomenal. And I think that would just go such a long way and continues to go such a long way. I mean, he set up the Class A moment by getting on base. He set up a moment in Houston as well. Just continues to be one of the stars of this postseason. And then AJ Hinch. You know, we talk about the managerial practices of AJ Hinch quite often and kind of what he is doing in his mindset towards this team. I think in this game specifically, he managed circles around Cleveland. And this is in a vacuum. I'm not trying to, I think Vogt is probably going to win AL Manager of the Year. I think he did a phenomenal job with this team. I think he's done a phenomenal job this series. I think he's one of the better young up-and-coming managers that the sport has to offer, and he's going to have a fantastic career. I have no hard feelings or no disrespect towards Vogt. But this was a game in which 38 different players were used between two teams, which is easily the most that has happened in this postseason. And it felt like every decision that was made, AJ had the upper hand, right? Even something as interesting as Justin Henry Malloy for Kerry Carpenter, right? Everybody was initially when that happened, no, I don't like taking Carp out there and whatnot. And I understand Carpenter's the team's best hitter. I don't want to just exactly pull him out of the ball game all the time either. But Vogt then went out there and pulled his pitcher and only had a lefty warming up. So AJ still got the matchup he wanted because there wasn't a righty warming up for Cleveland. Cleveland also used a ton of pinch hitters early in this game. They're trying to score early. Brennan didn't even get an AB in this game. He started, didn't even get an at-bat. Noel was pinch hit for in the first inning. So by the back half of this ball game, it was the Tigers' highest leverage, best relievers, and Cleveland was out of pinch hitters or had very few left. All of their best pinch hitters had been burned through. It was beautiful to watch. He pulled all the right strings at all the right times. The timing on everything he did was nearly perfect. It was absolutely phenomenal. And it continues to be a reoccurring theme here throughout the Tigers' run this postseason and even dating back to the regular season there. What went wrong in this game? Sean Gunther, a third of an inning, 2 base runners, was the only pitcher that really didn't have it in this ball game. Trey Sweeney with an error, also had a diving ball off his glove. Could have used those, but at the end of the day, it was still a shutout. It didn't really cost the team that terribly much. Thankfully, no, but something that obviously, that ball to Torkelson. I actually, people were like, oh, he's got to eat that. That's a very common thing to say when there's a throwing error, oh, he should have just eaten it. I don't think he should have. I think he should have just made the throw, man. He had him out. Was that Quan? Whoever it was up there, I don't remember the hitter. He had him out by a step and a half. I think he should have thrown the ball. It was just a terrible throw. Really, the biggest theme of this game for both teams was an inability to hit with runners in scoring position. And that's where the Tigers found themselves offensively yet again. 2 for 10 with RISP. Torkelson had some rough strikeouts in this ball game. Trey Sweeney, some rough ABs and a lot of swing and miss, a lot of strikeouts in this ball game. But this team just continues to win games the same way, right? The offense does just enough and the pitching dominates you. This is another case in which, we talk about this stat that Tony Paul of the Detroit News brought up all the time here in after game 2 of the wild card round, where not a single Astros hitter faced the same pitcher twice. Wasn't close to that. I think Quan faced Herter twice, but outside of that, it was pretty darn close. Nearly everybody else, unique matchup every single time, and that's really hard to adjust to. And that on top of just shortcomings that Cleveland has offensively has led to 20 consecutive shutout innings in the biggest series of the season for the Cleveland Guardians. Let's talk stuff. We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is the best. We talk about them all the time here. And you can start the season of the NFL with a big return over on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all so much for tuning in as always. Let's talk stuff. So first off, I want to talk about the home plate umpire in this game. Rough day at the office for Buddy back there for both teams. And I know that the Tigers won, so it's going to be focused on that, like, you know, the umpire was really bad and the Tigers won and Cleveland got shut out and whatnot. He was atrocious for both. I am very interested in what the umpire scorecard in this game is going to look like on a Thursday when it gets posted. I'm fascinated because, like, it wouldn't shock me if the Tigers got the advantage, but I think there was just so many missed calls by both sides. Torkelson started off 0-1 on a pitch that was in Cleveland. Like, it was literally thrown to the city of Cleveland. I think the umpire may have thought it was the game was at Progressive. It was mind-boggling how many calls were missed, especially at that low and outside corner. Both pitching staffs were just trying to throw it low and away to every single hitter because it was just called a strike no matter what. So it's always so fascinating to me. Like, as an ump, and I'm not like, I don't really like, I've umped Little League before. It's a very hard job. I'm not trying to, I don't like being the umpire sucked guy or like blaming him for a game result. I try to avoid that as much as possible. I feel like if pitchers are only throwing it in one spot, that probably should be like, oh, hey, like maybe it's for a reason. I don't know. Just like a thought that I had during this ball game. The Athletic came out with an article before this ball game that said the Tigers were ranked as the 8th of 8, the last place, aka the worst, home field advantage remaining in the postseason. That is an article that was actually published by The Athletic before this ball game, which is hilarious because they hadn't played a playoff game yet. They haven't played a playoff game at Comerica yet this postseason, so I don't know how that was really concocted and put together. But the Tigers broke a Comerica Park playoff record of, as I said at the beginning of the show, over 44,000 in attendance. It was awesome. And every clip you saw on the internet was, you know, like the levels were breaking on the mics, and it was hard to hear, and it was just incredible. I live downtown. You could hear it from all over the city. It was absolutely beautiful. TBS sucks, though. That's something that something that kind of frustrated me. Like, I don't really care, like, whatever. I live down here. I know how loud it was. I could hear it. But I think, TBS has gotten a lot of heat this entire postseason run, wherever they've been, for not having a good crowd mic. Like, Yankee Stadium sounded really quiet when they were there, and everybody was like, what the heck is going on? When the game's on FS1, you can hear it really, really loudly, right? Like, San Diego and in LA have been a lot on FS1 and whatnot. But I don't know, just like a little gripe I have. And this isn't even like the Tigers crowd sounded quiet. Again, I'm here. I know how loud it was. I don't really care about that. But just one of those things where I wish, I don't know, baseball's cooler to watch on TV when you hear crowd noise. I don't care if it's the Tigers or the Yankees Royals series or whatever. I think it's just cooler, and it kind of sucks that they have such a like nerfed crowd mic. It's kind of lame. Game 4, Tanner Bybee will be pitching in Game 4 for the Cleveland Guardians. It's against TBD for the Tigers, as we have become accustomed to. Going to be, as we know, it's not Tarek Skubal, so it's going to be a lot of relievers used in this game, especially if the Tigers have a lead. It's going to be go time, baby. AJ Hinch is going to throw out every single reliever if he has to. If they get a lead, it is going to be the most chaotic chaos you've ever seen. He is going to go ham with pitching changes if the Tigers get a lead in this ball game, because he's going to want to end the series. He's going to want to stomp on their throats and really end this series if he has the ability to. So we'll see what happens. Reese Olson, I think, is on 5 days of rest going into Game 4, so that could be somebody who could go multiple innings in this game if they are looking for a bulk reliever. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, Cleveland, again, the Captain Obvious. I don't know if you're aware of how, baseball games are won. They're going to have to find ways to score against this pitching staff. That's kind of where they're at. And AJ doesn't pitch to J-Ram in clutch situations, which I'm sure all Tigers fans can love and appreciate dearly, given how much he has been a thorn in the side of the Tigers for such a long time. I just thought every pitcher that took the mound, sans maybe Sean Gunther, was phenomenal. I really did. I think Holton, with the cutter that he offers, is so good. Will Vest, we talk about the fastball. Kader Montero, pitch to contact king, just getting a lot of pop-ups and weak contact there. Beau Brieske continues to be an absolute animal. It just was really good. And in terms of what Cleveland was offering, I mean, again, the Tigers haven't had too much success outside of one beautiful swing from Kerry Carpenter against Cleveland's bullpen, but they've been doing just enough. They've been doing just enough. You have 2 games left. 2 games left if you need it. You got to win just one. 2 remaining games in the ALDS. If you win game 4, then there isn't a second game. If you lose game 4, you throw Tarek Skubal out there. Home game, Skubal start. It's not yours yet. More than any other fan base on this planet, we are not going to assume wins here. We are not going to get ahead of ourselves. We have known nothing but pain with this team for a decade. But you are in the driver's seat now. It is yours to lose, and it's all yours for the taking. Go take it, baby. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping Game 4 against the Cleveland Guardians. Let's go win a playoff series. Let's go do that again. That was fun the first time in Houston. Let's go win a playoff series. Let's clinch one at home in front of 45,000 fans and lunatics. Why not? Why not, man? Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.